Boop, beep boop, beep boop, bop 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 bop. It's
Oh, this looks good though.
Retireholics. All right, here we go, people. Welcome to the show. Welcome to a new version of Retireholics. We're moving to an experimental format in 2024. Here's the way it's going to work, my 401k peeps. We will continue to do our shows on the first and third Thursday of every month. The first show will be a classic Retireholics format with a guest and acrosin and irresponsible drinking and fancy guests and headlines and drunk stock tips and all that kind of jazz and new things to come. The second show of each month will be more of a free-for-all, kind of an experimental thing. We'll figure it out as we go. And as an example, today, I'd like to try something a little different. There's no organized format. I simply wrote the boys 2 weeks ahead of time, Mark,
That was
and
polite of you.
said, hey, this is the subject. I'd really like y'all to study it up, find some examples, watch some videos out there, read some articles, and come to the show so we can really kind of get down and dirty and detailed on a subject and have just more of a free flowing
Oh, I'm just
conversation.
I'm just here to drink, just so you know.
So this will be a lot less of
I
me.
read your
This is
email like 13 minutes ago, JD. It was well done. It was well written. A lot of good examples. Don't know what it was about though.
the normal show. You got to get tired of it. Is me trying to shove some agenda down your throat, trying to get to certain segments and do certain things. I'd much rather have this one be like, I listen to these podcasts out there where people just have good conversations. And that's what I'm trying to go for today. Me, myself, I even poured myself a really nice glass of wine, just chilling. There's no Smirnoff around me. Felt very freeing. Oh, wow. Chad's got
I've
some
got tea.
fucking tea. I like it. I like it. So let's set up the topic for
Wait,
today.
hold
If
on.
you
Can I,
want. Yes,
JD? I
of course, Mark.
appreciate.
I just said it's free flowing. Do
Okay,
whatever you
good,
want.
perfect. This is
See,
this is
now you're
great. This
interrupting
is
me,
great.
and I'm
Yeah.
not even stressed
Hey,
because I have no
hey,
agenda to follow. Go right
hey.
ahead.
Now you're interrupting me. All right. So wait. First off, I know that drinking is optional. Like I get
Yeah,
that,
totally
but
optional.
is Acrosin still being played?
Oh, Peps suck shit. Fuck them. Fuck the Peps.
Okay.
We'll keep those for the first show of the month. Brandon made a graphic, but I'm not playing along. There's no. Any other questions, Rob guy?
No, that pretty much covers it, JD.
Okay.
It's
Let's
we
yes,
just saw
Chad.
half the audience tune out when we said no Acrosin and no site or drunk stock tips. So
Hey, you gotta try some new things. You gotta try some new things. Okay. I have heard this come out of the mouth of a lot of people on this in this world. This concept that BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street control the country and or control the world, if you will. I can't remember where I first heard it, but it has been spoken by Bernie Sanders has mentioned this. Elon Musk has talked about this. The presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, is he still running or did he back out? I forget. I don't know. He's mentioned this. This will add to the conspiracy theory, but I kind of like RFK Jr. He's talked about this. Our very own
oh,
government has
this is
launched an
hard.
investigation mid last year into this concept. I first saw it on like YouTube or something, and I kind of dismissed it. I think the second time I heard it, I was like, well, wait a second. Like, I work with some of these companies. Like, what's up with this? I think it's about the fourth time that I tried to go dig deeper into it. So I'll just set up some of the facts that people spit out there. Okay. Um, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street are the largest shareholders in 88% of the S&P 500 companies. I don't know if you've done this, Chad. Have you,
Ooh,
bro? It's really weird.
they're investors are, JD, not
Yes.
themselves, not the companies, they're investors who they
Very
have
true.
a responsibility to make sure they're making the right decisions for.
Well, yes, but just for fun, anybody out there, go to Yahoo Finance or whatever you use and look at Apple, look at Google, look at Meta, look at all the big companies in the world. I mean, branch out and look at General Mills or all these companies, and you're going to be shocked to see in the top 5 every time, many times in the top 3, you will see these 3 names over and over and over again. And yes, we'll talk about what Roby just said. These are investment companies. So I'll give you a few more stats. Vanguard and BlackRock together have 17 trillion, and to Roby's point, in assets under management. That's roughly 1/3 of the entire United States market. And they also get tapped by the government at times for kind of special deals. So remember when we had our big like mortgage, subprime mortgage crisis, and the big banks were going to fucking go under, all the big institutions, and they need to be saved? Well, apparently the government called in BlackRock to kind of sort a lot of this shit out and do stuff. So when someone says that these companies have power and clout and influence, I'll go to you, Chad. Like, just because what Mark says is true is that they're an asset manager and this isn't all their trillions of dollars, it's their clients. You still got to feel like there's some kind of something going on here. There's
Well,
some validity to that.
I don't think the question is you got to feel like there's it's not a question. It should be a statement. There is something going on here, and their influence is worldwide. It's not just US markets, it's not just US companies. Their influence into United States military forces and those contracts is significant. So there are a number of different paths you could take this conversation. For me, as I started to read deeper into this, I don't put the tinfoil hat on. I look back and go, you want me to fucking believe that these large organizations are in cahoots with one another in some way in which they're minimizing the competitive nature of our marketplace, and they're behind the scenes convincing different board of directors to do certain things and throwing their weight around, and
Go
without
Chad, go Chad.
without
Yes.
anybody knowing, without anybody speaking out, without any real evidence. I mean, every
What do you mean?
single
What do you mean?
video,
No one knowing or speaking out. I'm
I know
telling you,
I did
Bernie
not say knowing.
Sanders, our government is investigating them. People are speaking out all over the place, and not just crazies
JD,
from their little
time
room.
out. Time out.
Okay.
Who is speaking out in the inside of these relationships, though? I haven't seen a whistleblower come out and be like, yeah, I was sitting next to Fink
because they got rid of him, Chad.
Yeah, when we were on a train and he told me that this is how he muscled up Alphabet to doing this or that. No, because I honestly look into this and going, there is influence and shit is happening, but it is not this conspiracy hat of them all getting together in some Illuminati room and chatting through how they're going to dominate the world. I just can't and won't believe that that's possible without leaks.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, but let's say with the airlines, they own a piece of all these major airlines. They're in the stockholder meetings. And they don't need a conspiracy. They need to just have their own self-interest. And then one airline goes, hey, we're going to lower fees to try to take out Southwest. And then they go, oh man, we got a big position in Southwest. Let's not do that.
That's a great conflict of interest.
And then they're going to all the different airlines and they're going, no, we don't want any of them to lower fees. We own all of them. Why would we want that to happen?
Let's further cement Roby's point of them being just an asset manager. So I'll jump on the other side real quick on Chad's side here. This is a big counter argument. We haven't mentioned this yet. Vanguard, I mean, you all know Vanguard. They're massive in passive index funds, right? So if your investment model is index or passive, I'll just use the simplest example ever, the S&P 500, then you really don't have the clout, right? Vanguard doesn't have the clout to say, hey, better do what I'm telling you or we're going to pull our assets from you, you know, airlines or Apple or whatever, because no, Vanguard has to follow the rules of the index fund, right? It's not an actively managed fund, it's passive. And by the way, for Vanguard, almost 80% of their investments are index passive strategy or style. BlackRock is, of the 6.2 trillion that they manage, 66% is index funds or passive. So no shocker there either, especially with their big kind of ETF output. So that does kind of soften the blow a little bit, right? Like you can't really, Larry Fink can't run around in these boardrooms and say, I'm going to pull my trillions of dollars when these trillions of dollars are really in index or passive based stuff. Okay. So that needs to be mentioned or discussed. Just backing up Roby's point too. This is not BlackRock's money. This is not Vanguard's money. This is not State Street's money. This is their clients' money. No different than a record keeper having their clients' assets or a financial advisor having their clients' assets. Okay. But
not entirely no different. So maybe you're getting there with the but. But
no, I don't know. I was
some
just going to
voting
say,
rights. They've got seats in meetings that record
yes, I'm going to
keepers
go to that.
that the
I was gonna
plans
go there.
aren't getting in with record keepers. So yeah, go ahead.
Voting rights. So that's the next kind of shoe to drop, right? So voting rights. So believe it or not, when you're a participant in a 401k plan or even just a retail investor and your money is over at BlackRock, you're not going to that meeting and voting because you have a tiny little bit, but the voting rights are pushed to that custodian. And so BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard do have voting rights. And when you have voting rights, that could deal with like big business things, right? Like mergers and acquisitions, or I don't know about Brandon's example, but maybe like a big pricing change or some kind of shift in the business. These are all for the board of directors to vote on and decide what direction they're going to take the company. It surely has to do with who's going to be on the board of directors. And I will tell you that these three companies have been under the spotlight in trying to push certain people either in or out of these board of directors. So you're right. We can't say they don't have influence and power.
For sure. And can we acknowledge that as a whole, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, they have an obligation to their shareholders to do what is in their best interest and create value, rate of return, right? And so much of what we're saying, while we have an issue with perhaps in conversation, much of what we're saying is not illegal, and they're doing so in a way that is driving massive amounts of money and value to the people who are investing their money there. So getting 3 people put onto a board or flexing your muscles in a room and keeping prices of airlines going up, yeah, it's fucked up. It is.
It's
but is
what
it not
broke
leading
up
to their
Rockefeller.
primary point of business, which is to drive revenue?
No, I think what you just said is a conflict in itself.
Well-
You truly believe, Chad, the guy who said he smoked on his insurance thing because he had a cigar after having a child, you truly believe that their sole responsibility is their fiduciary responsibility and that they're not puppeteering other things for other
No,
influence? You have
that's not what
a
I
real
said.
trust in
That's not what I
humanity
said.
in a big way.
Well, let's can we real quickly, the difference between something being illegal and something needing to be done, kind of like breaking up
Right.
Rockefeller Standard Oil at one point, like so
Just because
Rockefeller,
it's legal
yeah,
is what you're saying.
yeah, he monopolized the thing. It was legal to be a monopoly. There was no issue there, but we did something about it because it was ruining competition.
I don't want to get crazy conspiracy. It's not on the topic today, but
Isn't that the point of all this? Getting a little
well, no, I'm
crazy?
just saying this
Huh.
goes.
Chad's saying it's not illegal, and it's like, yeah, well, we don't.
This goes
it's not
outside
about it
of
being illegal.
like this goes outside of finance, which I don't want to do. But it's like we're clearly seeing conflicts of interest with big drug companies and media and advertisements and what's being
Well,
pushed
who's
to
got
us.
their
And
hand
so,
in that too?
so to think that everyone's just following the rules and doing things that are legal and that's okay and not manipulating markets or doing things for their own benefit. And usually when you do something for your own benefit, it's not always a win-win, Chad. There's usually a loser on the other side of that. You know where this argument tends to
Yeah.
go, where everyone got really fired up about it, was with ESG. So Larry Fink of BlackRock, who's the founder, in case anyone doesn't know that, of BlackRock, and the guy who runs the ship these days, came out in 2020 with a letter to CEOs of all the big companies. And in this letter, he was basically saying, hey, look, BlackRock is going to take an interest in ESG, and we invest on behalf of our clients. We are a fiduciary for our clients. And so we're the ones in charge of putting their money in the right places. And it was basically a threat to all these companies. And we're going to start looking at what companies are good for our future, good for the environment, and fill in these ESG qualities that, or check these boxes that we're looking for. This was in 2020. It's out on the internet. It's a letter from BlackRock to all these companies. So don't tell me that that's not power and influence. They were literally telling everyone, and if you can look at Fink all over TV, all over YouTube, all things, reiterating this message of, hey, this is where BlackRock stands on this. And I kind of felt like, I won't say at the time, but as I've soaked it in, I was like, how dare you? You're not the voice for your investors in terms of where they want to put their money in that sense, you know, like in terms of environment. And then we're getting back to the whole, we had a great conversation with who was on the show last time? Charlie.
Yeah.
Or no, who's the guy who went in front of the government? Preston came on the show.
Yeah.
And had that kind of woke agenda concept going on. So that was very clear from Fink. I want to give you an update on that. He's since, I mean, maybe this is me taking out of context a little bit, but he has since kind of backed away from that. So there was a massive backlash of people from both sides of the aisle flipping out on Fink and BlackRock and their very public opinion of sustainable investing. So I don't know. Give me your thoughts on that. That's influence. Go ahead, Brent.
He kept the sustainable, but sort of he got rid of sort of the environmental. And his push now is he's saying, hey, you got to look at your longevity as a company. And then so he's smuggling it in by saying,
change the narrative, right?
Yeah. So, well, if you're not environmentally kind of conscious in 20 years, that could be a detriment to your company. Like you could get wiped out because you're too, into a technology that the world's
I do believe in what he had said to support that point initially and ongoing in terms of defense was that we see some future regulations coming from the government side down on certain things that businesses need to be doing, especially around the side of clean energy. And so if we're looking at companies to invest in and you're not preparing yourself for what is to come, then we know you're going to struggle. And so we need to find a way to grade this. We need to find a way to understand whether or not you're going to be able to adapt to change of regulation that will come down. I don't see any, JD, I'm not disagreeing with the influence or flexing of the muscles, by the way.
But let's stop with what you just said.
I always love how Chad has to make sure that everybody understands exactly what. It's okay, Chad. It's okay, dude. We're gonna snip the parts that make you look like. Oh, shut up.
It's not.
Can we stop?
Can we stop it?
Can we stop and kind of pause on what you said there? Like what you said was very logical, which was if I'm trying to vet out companies to invest in, and I believe in a certain future of the world or what have you, or different sectors, then it makes sense for me to bet on companies that are forward thinking as it relates to those things. That seems very logical when you say it, but to me, that's still, a lot of people don't agree with what you just said. That's still a gamble. You just gave me an investment theory that you thought that a certain company that takes a certain approach will benefit from that in the long term. You don't know that to be true.
That's not what I
and
said.
by the way, historically, if you look at this,
a lot of what I'm saying.
Huh?
Nobody knows what you're saying, Chad. It's great.
I'm saying the other side of this, that I'm not saying that they're going to benefit. I'm saying the other side is that if you're not prepared, you're going to lag.
Well, what's going to happen to those who aren't prepared? They're going to cut corners. They're going to do things they shouldn't. And then they're not going to actually they're going to be checking boxes for the wrong reasons to make sure they stay a part of whatever BlackRock wants them to be a part of. And also, if somebody like, hey, I'm just going to say it, some old dude is sitting across the table from me telling me like, you need to be like this in 20, 30, 40 years. I'm like, you're going to be dead then. Why am I listening to you?
I've heard Larry talk about the greenwashing that companies would do, so it's a problem he's aware of. He's not naive to the fact that you were to do this environmental thing, that companies are going to plant trees, and
although, do you know, Chad, I don't know how much research you've done on this one. BlackRock had their own, part of the controversy here was they had their own kind of ESG rating system. And a lot of people were losing their shit because the one narrative I've heard out there is that I don't know why Elon always ends up in these things in the middle of it, but is Tesla is very low rated on this system, and like Philip Morris, who makes like tobacco products and shit, am I getting that right? Is like really high on it. To Brandon's point, that's not true, but they planted a couple of trees or whatever the fuck it is they're doing. They've made a pledge to be carbon neutral in 2120 or something, and they're getting a positive BlackRock ESG rating, where Elon Musk's Tesla company, who's changing the game as it relates to cars and electric cars, is very low rated. And so there was that conflict of interest too, where not only were they pushing the narrative, they were actually ranking the very funds. Wait, what's Preston? Preston's here.
Yeah, someone had called him a wet towel, and he's saying, I'm a wet blanket, not a wet towel.
I'm not sure I understand.
I don't know either one of those analogies.
But because look at Moody getting himself in trouble again. Once again.
Moody's a goddamn bull in a china shop, bro.
Wet towel, wet blanket. I mean, first off, I don't get it at all. But
yeah, Preston, don't use it's not an analogy. What do you call that phrase?
Metaphor?
A metaphor. Don't use metaphors from the 40s and 50s here on this show. We don't. That doesn't make sense.
Moody started it.
Wet blanket. What did Moody do? So the ESG one gets people really up in arms.
I didn't find their rating system for BlackRock.
Yeah,
in all the different things you read. No, I mean their actual company, because in everything you read, there's pushback on BlackRock for what they're saying to the masses, yet they're still a major stakeholder in weapons and arms dealing. They're still a major stakeholder in fossil fuels. They're still, like, from an investment strategy standpoint, they've clearly said, yeah, that's important, but rate of return is more important, and we're going to put our money where we want it to go.
This is a weird kind of side shoot. I talked about the drug companies earlier, but you Chad, have brought up the arms companies, like the military companies. That's a whole nother little conspiracy shoot, right? Where there's like 4 or 5 of these companies that really kind of
that scares me the most.
Do all the shit. And what is their business model? Their business model is to make weapons. And so
war's their business model.
War,
not just making weapons, though. It's making everything and providing all kinds of different products and services for war. Not just
Rob,
weapons,
there you go. Military industrial complex. And they have their own lobbyists. That's so shocking to me. What do those lobbyists tell the people in DC? Like, yeah, no, we really need more war. This is going to be good for us as a country or whatever.
I mean, a lot of people have seen this, but have you seen Eisenhower's speech when he was leaving office on the military industrial complex? Watch that. That'll blow your mind. He's basically saying, like, we can't do this. Like, this is gonna ruin the country. And then we went ahead and did it. And it's the last thing he said as president. Like,
wow,
a big warning to the world. Like,
although I would love to see those types of companies build like cool drone things and things that like save people's lives. Wait, they don't save people's lives. I guess they save your people's lives while they kill other people on the other side. But like technology like that I guess seems like a cool evolution, you know. I'd rather see there I go. Here's my smart way of saying it. I'd rather see strategic weaponry than like the continued evolution of like big, massive bombs that kill millions of people, you know. So maybe that industry will come
I
out
really think they just need to find a way to bring dinosaurs back.
I don't think they're working on that one.
Dude, there's so many technology advancements going on. I mean, why don't we focus on the cool things? Like, hey, take the ocean water, make it drinkable. That's number one, right? Find dinosaurs, make sure they can bring them back.
Have you seen Jurassic Park?
I don't know. Make sure there's make sure the rainforest stays alive. Like, I don't know. Just there's a lot of things that we could be doing way better than, funding war.
None of those have massive dollar signs in ROI on them though, Mark. So the people who have the money don't want to spend it there.
Chad, I don't care what you say.
Let's bring it closer to home, closer to the 401k side, as it relates to target date funds. Come on, JD. Like you get a little more wasted when you're drinking wine, to be honest with you.
While you're doing that, something that dawned on me in all this is like, okay, I'm an investor in BlackRock, like good for me, or whatever. I'm making money as an investor. But if all this like weirdness is happening and there's this sort of monopoly aspect, and maybe my consumer pricing, my plane tickets are higher, my car company costs are higher, and all these other things are higher because very few companies own everything at the top, and they're trying to milk the participant or the consumer. It's like, so am I losing more money as a consumer than I'm gaining as an investor? Like,
yeah, that's interesting. It's like, hey, we're making you a lot of money, but at the same time, your dollar's not being stretched as far. In this same concept, and their diluting of cryptocurrency, that's the fight back from the cryptocurrency community. Is if these large institutions get in there and can monetize it in a way in which they dilute the value, and your one Bitcoin is worth $50,000, but now the value of the dollar has gone down, then you end up having a wash anyways. Yeah, they're making you a lot of money, but your money can't get you what it once did.
Right. I kind of had that realization as a 53-year-old. I guess I'll be 53 in April the other day. Is I kind of took inventory of my life, and I was like, okay, yeah, inflation is a big part of the 401k story, right? Like when you do a PowerPoint to a company's 401k plan, you always talk about inflation and how a gallon of milk cost this much back in the day, and now it costs this much. But I started to take inventory for myself, and I was like, because now I can look back 20 years and it seems like a quick minute. And I'm like, am I really paying way more for stuff now than I did 20 years ago? And how does that impact how does that kind of lay alongside my 401k savings, my personal savings, my net worth? And it's a bit of a shocker when you think about it for a second. Like you think to yourself, you have X, but sometimes it's the 20-year-ago person in you that thinks you have X, and you don't realize that X isn't worth X anymore. And it's an interesting math problem to go through. Target date funds. These guys are big in this space too, by the way, everybody. Vanguard is, any guesses? Where do you think Vanguard sits on the target date fund ranking list of total assets?
1.
You got it. Ding, 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 ding. Number one. Vanguard is number 1 in the target date space. Come on, JD, stick to your thing here with over $1 trillion. BlackRock is in 4th with 250 billion, and State Street is in 6th with 120 billion. Those numbers are a little dated, but you get the idea. These 3 companies also permeate into our 401k space and are massive players in terms of the target date funds. And this is a very different power and control, because this isn't about voting rights and this and that. This is, in my mind, this is power and control to make decisions move that money around, change asset allocation. And now I know I'm reaching here because I'm sure Larry Fink's got better things to do with his day, but he can walk in places and kind of swagger around and say, hey, do what I say, follow my rules, or I might just make some business changes. It's that crazy?
No,
Chad doesn't think so. Because
I
he
don't think it's
wouldn't do that.
crazy.
He would never do that. No, the Midwest has gotten to you, Chad.
By the way,
haven't you ever
he's
watched
such
a
a good
movie with a
guy
bad guy before?
on YouTube. That's right, Rob. T-Row. I'm surprised T-Row is so big too. I always think of T-Row as, I shouldn't do this. This is stupid of me, but as like kind of a lower record keeper, you know, like that I'm waiting to see them kind of evolve and be better. But what am I talking about? They're a massive money manager and a very big one and top on that list of target date funds and stuff. My point is, imagine you're Larry Fink for a moment.
Nah.
And by the way, Larry Fink does go to where do all the bigwigs just meet up? Chad's saying like this Illuminati stuff doesn't exist. Weren't they just said, what's it called? Davos or whatever?
Ooh, I wanted to say something really bad.
Davos?
Really bad right there. Yeah, I wanted to say Epstein Island. Okay, I said it.
Oh. Yeah, is that where that's at this year?
That's where I'm filming from. What do you
yeah,
that's where, hey, that's where we can have the Retireholics conference is Epstein's Island. So
wow.
they are rubbing shoulders, all these big wigs, and you don't think they have some like fine bottle of brandy and some leather couch little cigar smoking room and kind of discuss like
no, they drink they don't drink
do.
fine brandy. They drink the tears of poor people.
Okay.
The blood of babies. I thought that was
right. There you go. Same thing.
I just mean that if Skull and Bones, if they got certain theories, they can play those. How about this? Here's a big theory. A big thing that's happening. Digital assets, Bitcoin. Yes. This story Venn diagrams into this, believe it or not. BlackRock, our boy at BlackRock a few years ago claimed that I actually have the quote, I could find it, but he called digital assets or Bitcoin specifically, like the only thing it was good for was like, what's that, Brandon?
Nothing. Go ahead.
The only thing it was good for was like laundering money and like terrorists or something was what he said a couple years ago.
So that
was Aaron Schum at Davos? No, he wasn't.
This is where Chad might really not like him. So his whole notion of Bitcoin is that it will, at least from what I've heard, is that he sees a future in this, but he sees it in like a controlled token system that will get rid of all of that. Like, so he's looking at Bitcoin as a technology to totally get rid of any sort of cash ways of hiding transactions and money.
So Chad, I'm going to tee you up. I want to tee you up. So here he negatively speaks about the entire asset class. And now literally, what has it been? A week ago, we get approval from the SEC on Bitcoin spot ETFs. And guess who's in that game? BlackRock.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a smart business move. If,
is anyone really surprised by that?
No.
Right. I don't. Again, what are we getting at here? What do you want from BlackRock, dude? Like, what are we trying to get at here? Like, yeah,
to stick to your morals. You told me a couple years ago that it was the goddamn devil's child, and now that you go buddy up and have cigars to the 2022 Davos conference, I'm making shit up. You learn that the SEC is actually going to thumbs up this shit. And you start creating your own and putting in. I know I'm making. Stuff
JD,
up,
people can change their mind. It happens. Maybe one day I feel like
evolved.
I'm not gonna eat meat anymore, and then somebody says, "You ever reverse seared a steak?" And I'm like, "No." And then I try it. I'm like, "This is really good."
Do you remember how many people weren't going to invest in Apple? That Apple was never going to work. But did those people flip their switch when Apple started to thrive? Yes. So I can't fault him for that. Now, what you're getting at is, did he have an inside track into the government conversation? Did he know this was coming? They launched immediately once some information was leaked. Like, yep, sure he did. Sure he had influence in that. Sure they were prepared for it. Sure they were ready. And then Brandon, to your point, by the way, you solidified everything I've ever said on the show about cryptocurrency. Is he's going back to the technology of blockchain, which so many have. Now he's saying that cryptocurrency itself probably won't exist, but he's acknowledging the way in which blockchain works, and that should be a massive move in the financial services space.
Yeah, but he's wanting to use it. He wants to use the ledger system to, stop all the things.
Dilute cryptocurrency.
Yeah, everybody else loves cryptocurrency because it's like a way of hedging cash and hedging, governments inflating their currency.
Right.
And stuff. And
when banks go upside down, Bitcoin rallies, right?
Which is why banks like JP Morgan have a massive holding inside Bitcoin.
Really, Jamie Dimon is always talking so much shit about Bitcoin.
There's a bunch of the banking system that has a shit ton of Bitcoin.
And JP Morgan, because tell someone out there, tell me I'm wrong. He talks massive shit on Bitcoin all the time. So much so when I hear him talking shit, I feel like, wow, he's really threatened by this. Like of course he is. He runs a massive bank and is worried that people will hold their assets somewhere else besides banks. So Jamie Dimon is not.
No, what he's trying to do is he's trying to get the Bitcoin haters to come to his bank. Yet behind the scenes, he's like, ha ha ha, just kidding.
No, to Brandon's point, it's a hedge. That's why they're doing it. It's another revenue stream that they can use as a hedge to the stock market.
Someone earlier in the chat bar had asked before we even had this conversation, like, how's Bitcoin doing? And I don't know if they were trying to say like, ha ha ha, it's fallen from, I think it almost kind of breached like 49,000 or something. Am I getting that wrong? I think I got close to that. Yeah. And now where it's like 42, between 42 and 43 or something like that. But up from its lows is how low did we get? Like 17, 15? I forget.
Yeah, like 15, I believe.
Something like that. So the answer is it's been on a motherfucking tear, since its bottom, like creating a higher return than many asset classes. Chad, I know you've always kind of been pro on this, or at least, waiting to see what's going to happen here, but with the spot ETFs, and by the way, several billions of dollars have gone into those tickers for obvious reasons. For anyone who's not clued in, I no longer have to go to Coinbase or whatever little weird janky application to invest in digital assets. And by the way, I have a Coinbase account and myself, and I will tell you, it seemed complicated to me. I set it up, a while ago, but I was like, this is so weird and so like hard and so difficult to like do all this. And then when you see SBF go down for FTX, I love using acronyms, by the way.
Dude, I'm having a real hard time. My hands keep flinching every time that happens. It's not good.
When you see FTX go down and SBF and I think we had slightly recent news from who's the dude who runs Binance? He's like had a Twitter handle. It's like
Steve.
No, it's like
I'm joking.
It's like a weird name, like C something or whatever. Like he's like a cult figure, and he was Binance. And if you remember, Binance was the company that, in a way, kind of. What's his name, Brandon?
CZ.
CZ. Yeah. And
Isn't Binance the team that was going to help FTX before their big collapse? Yeah.
But they sort of took them down. They were kind of the ones that actually like kicked their legs out from under them by kind of exposing something, and then they were going to help. And by the way, that CZ, thanks for the research, Brandon, he just got prosecuted because Binance, which is another version of Coinbase and what was FTX, what they got in trouble for money laundering, and that terrorists were using their platform or whatever. And he was removed as the CEO or whatever. He still has his ownership. He's not in jail, but they basically removed him and fined him some god awful amount of money. So what was your point, JD? My point is, all that stuff seems a little creepy and scary, right? Coinbase, FTX, Binance. But now I can just go to my Fidelity account, my E-Trade account, my whatever, and I can buy an ETF that will track Bitcoin. This is going to be huge, right, Chad? I mean, it's got to be massive.
Yeah, I think that many investors have looked for a way into this space for a while, but what's the percentage? It's been a while since I've looked. I think that for folks that have money to invest, it's somewhere along the lines of like 60% are holding cryptocurrency now in some way, shape, or form, a digital asset, I should say, not cryptocurrency. So I think that this is going to create a flood, but I don't think it's the people who are going to be leveraging it aren't going to be the people that aren't already involved in it.
Oh, really? I wish I didn't do the research on the stats, but I want to say, like, I'm not going to guess, but billions in the tens of billions have flown into these spot Bitcoin ETFs.
Yeah.
I want to say some of them got like 22 billion just on their own, and so to me, that the people that are eventually, if they haven't already, if they're not part of that 22 billion, I made up that number. It's going to be new ones. They're going to be regular folk, people that live on my little street here that were no way on earth they're going to set up a Coinbase account. But
JD,
now that they can just get an
street
ETF.
Are setting up any of their own accounts?
What's that?
You think anybody on your street is setting up any of their own accounts? They've got financial advisors to do that. And those advisors are using and are already in some flavor of cryptocurrency or digital asset.
Ooh, I think advisors' hands are tied on a lot of that, though, aren't they? Like,
this it's definitely not 100% of people, Chad.
No. I'll jump on your bandwagon then. The fact that it's an ETF now, broker dealers and RIAs all across the country are starting to figure out how to loosen up their protocol and allow their investors to have a 3% Bitcoin exposure, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
So why has the price of Bitcoin fallen from when this all came out? I've been waiting for it to like spike. I guess I'm some kind of dumb surfer, and it just goes down a little bit, down a little bit, down. I thought this would have been great news.
No idea.
Well, great answer, Chad. No idea.
I think that's the appropriate answer.
I mean, the pricing of Bitcoin in the cryptocurrency space in general is, I mean, it's a shot in the dark to me. It's a limited asset that has significant demand, just like certain companies and the stocks that they have out there. So the value of it, the drive of it is kind of an obscure number that you can't look at PE ratios and come up with a thought as to what the stock value should be. So well, the why limited it goes up and down, I got no fucking clue.
Well, the limited version of it, I mean, there are so many what I would call smart people. Now, do they have a vested interest because they've already said it out loud? But I'm talking about like investors, asset managers on the retail side, hedge fund managers that, think this thing, Bitcoin, the price, they laugh at 49,000 and they think that it'll be 500,000, 750,000, a million in a short period of time, 3-5 years. So anyways, it'll be interesting. I just logically, if we could play back this episode in 2 years, and maybe a lot of people agree with me, but how can you not think that the SEC approving spot Bitcoin ETFs will not be a catalyst for this asset class? Just someone's got to talk me out of that. Like to me, I feel like this is a time to buy that anyways. We'll have to ask Drunk Rogue Guy in a future episode. Let's go one more. We can reach to one more BlackRock connection. And the good news is, everybody, if you're a 401k person, it's right in our little neighborhood. Guess who BlackRock invested in almost a year ago to this date? They became a investor for an undisclosed amount in a company. Tony Davis says Vestwell. No. Yes, human interest. Human interest. Good old Captain 401. BlackRock has their tentacles on them. And mind you, I've been getting a lot of, I said this at the kind of start of the show or in the pre-show. One of the cool things about doing Retireholics is people feel very free to, that's a 52-year-old, maybe I'm saying this wrong, Rob guy, but to slide into my DMs on LinkedIn and share
Definitely
with
not
me,
saying that wrong. No.
and share with me little tidbits about things, little whistleblowers, if you will, or little information.
You believe everything that people who watch this show say to you? That's a really
Pretty
scary
much.
thought, dude.
Pretty much it's the most exciting message I get when someone's
Yeah.
giving me some,
Hey, let's tell
dirt.
JD a bunch of crazy shit. He'll believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, can I say one thing? The change from black shirt to white shirt, you're looking good, buddy.
Thanks, bro. You know,
Just really wanted to get your mind off of people sliding into your DMs.
I like it. Please slide into them, everybody. Like, I'm wide open. Just slide on in.
Wow.
And share information. I'm all about it. So your boy BlackRock is invested in human interest, Chad. Come on. You have any thoughts about this? And by the way, Webby gave you your answer earlier. When I asked you why Bitcoin was falling instead of rising, he said it very intelligently, like they do on CNBC. He goes, "Oh, I think it was already baked into the market." You should have said that.
Yeah.
Instead of, "I don't know." BlackRock and human interest. Come on, Chad. Are we going to be looking at human interest unveils BlackRock managed account service? Human interest offers BlackRock target date funds at the lowest discount from any record keeper.
They already have BlackRock on the chassis, right? Like that's already there. Those options exist.
Do they? I thought they were all Vanguard and like fucking.
Not to my knowledge.
Not anymore.
I gotta see this.
But JD, nothing changes in the conversation that we've had over and over regarding human interest in some of these other plays for data. Does BlackRock want access to more information about individual investors and where they are in their savings career and their personal private Of course they do. Where can they get access to those people? The retirement plan, the employer-sponsored community is where they're going to get access to these folks.
But why human interest?
Why, that's a data play.
Why human interest?
Someone just wrote it above, Mark. Why they have 65,000 plans?
No. I want to go. People? I want to go deeper because there's other folks that have decent sized plan count, high level participant count. There's plenty of those. I didn't do the investigative research, but I'm challenging others to do so. There's got to be a human connection here somewhere. Like maybe in the past, there's a human interest, BlackRock connection within executives, there.
I don't know about that one, but that would be good digging. I do know that if you dig into Vestwell and help me chat bar, like what is it, like Morgan Stanley or something, or you'll find a lot of like connections and things like that. And I believe they're an investor in Vestwell. I'm probably fucking that up, but it's some company like that that has a lot of ties to Vestwell and is a supporter of Vestwell. Chad, when I go to human interest, when I look up their investment lineup, I'm not as dumb as I look. Like I remember this. It's Vanguard, DFA, Vanguard.
By the way, BlackRock owns Vanguard too, so.
Whoa, that was a leap. What do you mean BlackRock owns Vanguard?
It's a circular ownership. See, Mark did watch the videos that you sent over.
Oh, yeah, no. They are an owner. Yes. Wow, that is a good one. Yeah, fuck.
So, hey.
That's true.
Your benefit is our benefit.
They do own each other. If you look at their things, right? They are minority stake owners. Yes, Brandon.
So I ran into a thing, which was people were mistaking BlackRock for Blackstone.
Blackstone, yeah.
That BlackRock.
That's like a real estate company,
Yeah.
right?
They're saying
Yeah.
BlackRock's buying up all the single family homes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's Blackstone. And then come to find out, you know who the first original founder and BlackRock was? $5 million stake. Oh, Blackstone.
The Blackstone guy.
Blackstone started BlackRock, basically.
Yeah.
Oh.
They sold out in the 90s, late 90s, but they created BlackRock.
We should have done that research. Maybe Chad did.
All I can say is that's the worst ever deciding of what are you going to name your company? Oh shit, it was Blackstone when I was there. Rock's like, yeah, let's go with that.
I don't know. I kind of feel like what Brandon's saying is like, hey, these people are so stupid. The general folk, let's like show them we're connected, but they won't even figure it out. The dumbasses. Blackstone, BlackRock.
Which, by the way, I associate Blackstone with grills now. So I mean, there's, it is what it is.
We didn't touch on this because I didn't do a lot of research on it, but that was another complaint, Brandon. That
Devin, I just saw your comment. I didn't actually see that initially.
That you hear out of certain talking heads, which is that these investment companies, to your point, BlackRock, are buying up like residential properties all across the country and renting them out. And people get really like fired up about this.
Wow.
I've seen this kind of dismissed and that it's really not true, but I haven't dug in myself. I don't know if Chad looked into any of that.
I mean, everything I looked into and read on that topic was, yes, it's happening, but is it happening at a scale that has any merit impact? No, it's less than 1% of the market. From BlackRock's perspective, are there other institutions out there, large institutional companies that are buying up significant shares? Yes. What are all of them aggregate? One of the articles I read, it was like 280,000 homes, and it ends up being 0.04 of the open market. Now, I think what carried a whole lot more weight to me on that topic was the institutional money that's not buying new homes, but is buying builders and subdivisions and building homes. And then instead of those homes going on the market for individual sale, they're going on the market as rental property so that these larger institutional companies can then make profit off of it. That, to me, when you look to someone who's trying to build a home, when you look at the space, there's only so many builders. And if large organizations are tying up those builders to build complexes and tract homes that they're then going to buy, own, and rent out, then the builders aren't building any more single family homes for people to buy individually.
I looked up a stat, and it was that institutional investors may own up to 40% of the single family homes in the United States.
That's the conspiracy stat. That's the conspiracy stat, which you're right. You just pulled up the thing. That's the clickbait thing that sends people looping. Like, that cannot be true.
One of the guys that I read through that was trying to kind of debunk that conversation said that if you dive down below as to who's considered part of institutional and home buying, it's if you own 2 or more homes. So I'm not saying that that's large corporate buying homes, but I think that's the statistic that you're working off of there, B.
It's only rental property. So they own 40% of the rental homes, not of all homes. Sorry.
I did see, believe it or not, coincidentally, the Blackstone CEO at the Davos on an interview on CNBC. And he was talking about commercial real estate and how in Europe that they were seeing massive opportunities. He used all these fancy words, which basically meant that he was seeing companies that were fucked, that were upside down. And because they had such coffers of cash at Blackstone, they were going to be able to buy these properties at, very affordable prices and crush it for the future. And that's where he saw this opportunity. And it made me think of 2 things of like, I didn't know the connection, by the way, to BlackRock that Brandon brought up, which is kind of interesting. I just thought, well, that's interesting. Blackstone, it's not BlackRock. There's a CEO. Now, I literally watched this morning, I believe, or yesterday morning. And then he was talking about the US market and how that shoe hadn't dropped yet. But I don't know if y'all know this, like, if you think about commercial real estate and you think about, I mean, everyone uses San Francisco as an example, right? Like San Francisco is quote unquote like a ghost town now commercially, right? All the big companies have left that city and they were in buildings that were owned by other entities. Then these buildings were worth like god awful amounts of money, right? Like they were massive. And I don't know if I told you, you guys remember our old office in Foster City or in San Mateo, the old office, the bigger one. Mm-hmm. What was that square footage, Brandon? Like 5,500 or 6,000? I don't know.
We had like half a floor
like that. I think.
Building, but
yeah, half a floor. When we were leaving, I don't remember what year that was. You guys probably can come up with that or a guess. They wanted to charge us. It was going to be $46,000 or $48,000 a month, something like that was going to be our rent. So suck that in, chat bar. That was going to be our office rent. If that doesn't give you a taste of like the value of real estate in San Francisco, it was massive. Obviously very different now. But the weird problem here is, I'll try to get to the point, is that these people's loans, these like commercial entities that like package it all together are kind of spread out over time. And so even though interest rates are coming up, they still can kind of renegotiate, try to hang on, try to wait for different times. And this Blackstone guy said he thinks that shit's about to start crumbling down. And they'll be able to swoop in and buy some big building in San Francisco or wherever that once was worth $100 million, and now they can buy it for 20 million. I'm making up these numbers. And then wait for the world to get right again, you know? So I don't know. That's interesting to me because office space has changed so drastically in like a 3-4 year period. Yeah.
Do you think that's going to work out for them? Like, who the fuck's going back? I just don't see it.
A lot of people are, Brandon.
It's just like fashion. Everything comes back, okay?
work from office will come back. I think you could place that bet. I think it's possible that like we could turn around and be like, oh, that was just a COVID hangover that kind of lasted a while. Like, remember, when like 4 years after COVID, everyone still thought they could work from home. Wasn't that hilarious? And now we're looking back 10 years and everyone's slogging to the office again, you know, like it could happen.
I don't think it'll be that widespread. I think there will be certain industries that will never go back. There was no need to go back. Why spend that overhead? But I think the majority of folks that need deeper oversight over their employees are going back.
Well, I would go just the complete opposite route of that. Is they're obviously going to buy these places, which would sit dormant, which I believe would be better to have someone purchase it than have it sit there and just sit there and do nothing. But have you seen, like, even some places in San Francisco, these commercial places are actually taking these office spaces and selling them as residential units, like a whole floor of office space with cubicles is now turned into 15 different, I'll just call them rooms that you can buy or rent. And so there's obviously other uses for these buildings too. So,
but unfortunately,
JD, that's the future. We buy a building with 30 units in it, and then we make our employees live in the apartments, and then we get rent from them, and then we also, they work for them.
Devin earlier made a cool conspiracy theory comment in the chat bar about how like some institution out there was talking about how people all over the world should like get comfortable with like not owning anything in the future. I've seen some of that, Devin. I know you didn't just pull that out of your ass. Like that's a really interesting kind of push you need to watch out for in society. But when you talk about turning those 30 units into residential units that were office, and you specifically look at San Francisco, which I'm sure is mirrored on like a lesser level in other cities, is like, that's hard to do when outside of your residential now is homeless people and feces, and the fucking Target gets broken windows into and people run out of there with their fucking deodorant and shit. And so, and by the way, when all the businesses go down and they're no longer in those office spaces, then the local restaurant can no longer survive. And so you had this.
Do you think BlackRock is behind all of those smash and grabs?
Yes, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of those
they're trying to get through inventory so they can replenish it. They can write some of it off as lost inventory
and then buy it all up for less.
Oh my God. I just realized they started fucking COVID.
Wait. Did you know? So they, back in 2000, they created they created a thing for their structure called Aladdin. That, like, this was for
that was their portfolio creation.
Portfolio, and then so Aladdin. This is 2000.
Yes.
You know, and then what happens? Then you have 9/11 after this. All the price of all the airlines went down, and then BlackRock, the Mecca, in Mecca, the thing they all go around and touch, it's a black rock. Connecting all the dots here.
I didn't follow that. I did not follow that one.
My simpler point was that to rebuild a city and to accept the fact that you won't have office space, but to now try to make it residential, you really got to bring in things that the residential people would like to have, which is like a nice deli, a good restaurant, not tents on the sidewalk. And so it's a weird chicken and egg thing. Like you can't, the restaurants can't survive there because the businesses left, but yet you're going to try to rebuild from a residential. Which one comes first? It'll take time for that to sort itself out. But I think what a lot of local governments are trying to do is like, okay, let's stimulate small business. I know San Francisco is, I don't know specifics of it, but I think that's what they say their strategy is. Let's make it easy for restaurants and businesses to get in here and kind of build up so we can kind of turn around this city. And you might find out, now I'm really pulling shit on my ass, that if the restaurants get in there, the activities get in there, people want to live there because they can walk down to the San Francisco Giants game, that might just be the chain reaction to get the offices back in that same space, and then everything fucking takes off. I don't know, making up shit. Okay. That was good. What's our conclusion? In all honesty.
Yeah, I would love to know.
In all honesty.
Well, I think how do they stop it? What's the solution?
Well, Brandon wants to stop it. It's the thing.
No, I mean, like, the problem, like, if there are problems,
if you stop it, what's there from this not happening from another source again? What are you going to give the government control? Is that going to be better? What are you going to give the control to the people? We're all corrupt. We're all scattered by the internet nowadays. There's no perfect answer here. People are going to make a lot of money, make a lot of important decisions. Everybody else is going to fall in line and just live their lives and not care about the shit. And then other people are going to live in poverty and be like, fuck, this sucks. There's nothing else we can do. And until the aliens actually land and we meet them and they tell us that you are not the intelligent source of this universe, you're our controlled environment that we've been studying, and guess what? Time's up. Dinosaurs.
That's it. That was it. I was going to try to come up with something else, but I think Roby actually nailed it. That's the real conclusion of what's happening here. Thanks, Rob guy. That's it. You can't top that. That's the professional assessment of what's going on. So I guess invest your money in BlackRock is what Roby's saying. Invest your money in BlackRock.
Let me just echo Chad a little bit here. That's not what I said. It's not what I said.
I think what Chad said was, I don't know. Okay. Once again, for everybody that tuned in, We're not going to do it this way every second show. By the way, if you guys would get off your ass, send us some ideas you'd like to do.
Slide into JD's DMs.
The point is we're going to do 24 shows this year. 12 of them are going to be classic style. And 12 of them are going to throw shit at the fucking wall and see what sticks. And so a very special episode of Retireholics brought to you by BlackRock. Thank you, Webby. I'm sure I'll be getting some text messages in the morning and emails from people we've offended. With that, thank you for tuning into another Retireholics, the second one of 2024. I hope everyone is having a great year. And Roby, Chad, Brandon, I love you. You guys out there in the audience, I love you too. And we'll see you next time. Our guest on the first, it's going to be an interesting show, is some lawyer dude from Matthew Eichmann from, what did I tell you? Where's he from? I told you guys. Come on, help me out, man.
I can go back and look at emails.
You just said he was an ERISA attorney. That's all you said.
He's like an internal ERISA attorney for, God damn it. Didn't I text you guys?
No, you sent it via email. ERISA attorney for qualified plan advisors.
For white pebble.
Qualified plan advisors. He's their JD. Get that? He's a JD. Yeah, so thanks everyone. We'll see you for that show in its classic format. Who knows what we'll do in the next show in February? We'll find out. Until then, keep believing in aliens and conspiracy theories, and we'll see you next time. Play us out, Brandon.
How's that wine tasting, JD?
Pretty good. It's a different kind of buzz, man.
Yeah, that wine definitely that way.
I don't usually drink wine. It's a different kind of buzz.
Come to an end at noon Friday. Mr. Eisenhower has chosen this time for his final.
Oh, that's what Brand's. Oh shit. Okay, I'm watching this.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. First, I should like to express my gratitude to the radio and television networks for the opportunities they have given me over the years to bring reports and messages to our nation. My special thanks go to them for the opportunity of addressing you this evening. 3 days from now, after half a century in the service of our country, I shall lay down the responsibilities of office as, in traditional and solemn ceremony, the authority of the presidency is vested in my successor. This evening, I come to you with a message of leave-taking and farewell, and to share a few final thoughts with you, my countrymen. Like every other citizen, I wish the new president and all who will labor with him Godspeed. I pray that the coming years will be blessed with peace and prosperity for all. Our people expect their president and the Congress to find essential agreement on issues of great moment, the wise resolution of which will better shape the future of the nation. My own relations with the Congress, which began on a remote and tenuous basis when long ago a member of the Senate appointed me to West Point, have since ranged to the intimate during the war and immediate post-war period, and finally to the mutually interdependent during these past 8 years. In this final relationship, the Congress and the administration have, on most vital issues, cooperated well to serve the nation good rather than mere partisanship, and so have assured that the business of the nation should go forward. So my official relationship with the Congress ends in a feeling, on my part, of gratitude that we have been able to do so much together. We now stand 10 years past the midpoint of a century that has witnessed 4 major wars among great nations. 3 of these involved our own country. Despite these holocausts, America is today the strongest, the most influential, and most productive nation in the world. Understandably proud of this preeminence, we yet realize that America's leadership and prestige depend not merely upon our unmatched material progress, riches, and military strength, but on how we use our power in the interest of world peace and human betterment. Throughout America's adventure in free government, our basic purposes have been to keep the peace, to foster progress in human achievement, and to enhance liberty, dignity, and integrity among peoples and among nations. To strive for less would be unworthy of a free and religious people. Any failure traceable to arrogance or our lack of comprehension or readiness to sacrifice.
Are you sure he's going to say this,
Brandon? Us grievous hurt, both at home and abroad.
Yeah.
Progress toward these
that dude's a fucking BlackRock plant. Just saying it.
By the conflict now engulfing the world. It commands our whole attention, absorbs our very beings. We face a hostile ideology,
invest in BlackRock.
Global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method. Unhappily, the danger it poses promises to be of indefinite duration. To meet it successfully, there is call for not so much the emotional and transitory sacrifices of crisis, but rather those which enable us to carry forward steadily, surely, and without complaint, the burdens of a prolonged and complex struggle with liberty, the stake. Only thus shall we remain, despite every provocation, on our charted course toward permanent peace and human betterment. Crises there will continue to be. In meeting them, whether foreign or domestic, great or small, there is a recurring temptation to feel that some spectacular and costly action could become the miraculous solution to all current difficulties. A huge increase in newer elements of our defenses, development of unrealistic programs to cure every ill in agriculture, a dramatic expansion in basic and applied research.
Give me a guess what year.
These and many other possibilities, each possibly promising in itself, may be suggested as the only way
he said
to the
10
road
years
we wish
after
to
half
travel.
a century.
But each proposal must be weighed in the light of a broader consideration, the need to maintain balance in and among national programs. Balance between the private and the public economy. Balance between the cost and hoped for advantages. Balance between the clearly necessary and the comfortably desirable. Balance between our essential requirements as a nation and the duties imposed by the nation upon the individual. Balance between actions of the moment and the national welfare of the future. Good judgment seeks balance and progress. Lack of it eventually finds imbalance and frustration.
For the next experimental,
the record of many decades stands
let's
as proof
find
that
a black
people
and white video
and their
like this and just
government
watch
have,
it,
in the
not
main,
say anything the whole
understood
show.
these truths and have responded to them well in the face of threat and stress. But threats, new in kind or degree, constantly arise.
These are threats.
Of these I mention two only.
Here we go.
A vital element in keeping the peace is our military establishment. Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action, so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction. Our military organization today bears little relation to that known of any of my predecessors in peacetime, or indeed by the fighting men of World War II or Korea. Until the latest of our world conflicts, the United States had no armaments industry. American makers of plowshares could, with time and as required, make swords as well. But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together. Akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military
has anyone asked him today what he thinks?
Has been the
it's all come to
technological revolution
fruition
during recent decades. In this revolution, research has become central. It also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing
tell
share
everyone
is
is the
conducted
last
for,
person
by,
to stay here wins
or
a
at the
huge
direction
prize.
of the federal government. Today, the solitary inventor, tinkering in his shop, has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists in laboratories and testing fields. In the same fashion, the free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and
he didn't have a
scientific
prompter,
discovery,
right? Someone's literally
has
holding like
experienced
cue
a
cards.
revolution in
like,
the conduct of research,
that what's
partly
going
because
down?
of the huge costs involved.
Or is there
a
like an
government
old
contract
school like
becomes virtually
like
a
what do you call it?
substitute
Not digital, like
for
a
intellectual
mechanical
curiosity.
prompter or something.
For every old blackboard, there are now
Analog.
hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. Yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite. It is the task of statesmanship.
Although most of what he's saying is true, right?
And to
It's
integrate
totally true.
these and other
Like he's
forces
pretty much a
new and
visionary.
old within the principles
all
of our
happened.
democratic system, ever aiming toward the supreme goals of our free society.
I mean, it's not rocket science to figure out.
Another factor in maintaining balance
But he's right.
involves the element of time. As we peer into society's future, we, you and I, and our government must avoid the impulse to live only for today, plundering for our own ease and convenience the precious resources of tomorrow. We cannot mortgage the material assets of our grandchildren without risking the loss also of their political
That's
and
exactly
spiritual
what you boomers did to everyone.
We want democracy to survive for all generations to come, not to become the insolvent phantom of tomorrow. During the long lane of the history,
every time you think he's going to say, and thank
America
you,
knows that
he's
this
got
world of
another
ours,
spiel to go.
ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate, and be instead a proud confederation of mutual trust and respect. Such a confederation must be one of equals. The weakest must come to the conference table with the same confidence as do we, protected as we are by our moral, economic, and military strength. That table, though scarred by many past frustrations, cannot be abandoned for the certainty agony of disarmament of the battlefield. Disarmament with mutual honor and confidence is a continuing imperative. Together we must learn how to compose differences, not with arms, but with intellect and decent purpose. Because this need is so sharp and apparent, I confess that I lay down my official responsibilities in this field with a definite sense of disappointment. As one who has witnessed the horror and the lingering sadness of war.
Democrat.
As one who knows that another war could utterly destroy this civilization,
Republican?
which has been so slowly and painfully built over thousands of years. I wish I could say tonight,
the pure definition of the word is
that a
probably
lasting
different
peace
back
is
then
in sight.
than it is now, but
happily I can say that war has been avoided. Steady progress toward our ultimate goal has been made.
is what?
But so much remains to be done. As a private citizen,
Republican.
I shall never
Hasn't
cease to
changed.
do what little I can to help the world advance along that road. So in this, my last good night to you as your president, I thank you for the many opportunities you have given me for public service in war and in peace. I trust in that service, you find some things worthy. As for the rest of it, I know you will find ways to improve performance in the future. You and I, my fellow citizens, need to be strong in our faith that all nations under God will reach the goal of peace with justice. May we be ever unswerving in devotion to principle, confident but humble with power, diligent in pursuit of the nation's great goals. To all the peoples of the world, I once more give expression to America's prayerful and continuing aspiration. We pray that peoples of all faiths, all races, all nations may have their great human needs satisfied, that those now denied opportunity shall come to enjoy it to the full, that all who yearn for freedom may experience its spiritual blessings. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility, that all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth, and that in the goodness of time all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect.
How old is he
and
right
love.
there? He looks
Now,
fairly-
on Friday noon, I am to become a private citizen. I am proud to do so. I look forward to it. Thank you, and good night.
He looks old as fuck. No disrespect. He's an icon dude, but he looks seriously old. Yeah, and then Kennedy comes in, right?
Yeah.
Kennedy. I won't talk about Kennedy. All right. Play him some music, Brandon. We'll get the fuck out of here. I was kidding about a prize. Nobody gets a prize. There's like 100 of you still left here.
Have
You
you,
weirdos.
did you ever look at like his tax rates, like what were going on during his administration?
Like 90%, right? To the high
Yeah, the
tax rate.
marginal, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. How does that even? Yeah. If you were a rich guy back then, you gave away like all of your money.
Yeah. It's weird to see how that has economic effects. Like, because then what you do is you don't want to give it to the government. So what do? You pay your people better.
Yeah, maybe. Or you're definitely shifting your income around, right? Like,
Yeah. Well,
especially if you're fairly well off or super rich, you have that kind of flexibility, right? So you're probably waiting out like change, right? You're like, okay, I just won't take income, but I'll dump it into these properties, this other shit, until hopefully things change. And I was looking back at kind of presidents, and it's odd. Is they done some study, or is this just common knowledge that we tend to it's like a rotator, right? We go Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican. Mind you, I get it. Like it could be Democrat and then it's their vice president or something, or they get another term or whatever. But usually when the change well, obviously when the change happens, it's going to go to the other one. But I feel like there's this kind of pattern of like it's almost what I'm trying to say is like, I feel like society is like, okay, yeah, you get the job. And then it's like, no, we're against, you fucked up. We'll try this other one. And then it's like, no, you fucked up. We'll go back the other way. And I'm probably making shit up.
I always thought it was that just, you know, it's like, all right, so how much of Biden can you take before you're not enthused to vote the next time, you know, for the Democrats?
Their voters go down.
Yeah, you're just one side, their voters just get depressed by the administration, then the other side, they're just so happy for the change.
Don't you feel like it's like George Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush Jr., right? Not the same, yeah.
No.
Obama, Trump, Biden. It's literally right?
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, that's always kind of been the case. Yeah. There's always been a lot of that. Like, not, I mean, there's
I don't understand why that's okay. That seems very grade school to me. Like,
because people are simple, man. People are really simple, and like, it's like, oh, well, that's guy. I trusted that guy, and that's his kid. So, okay, you know.
Yeah, that's weird. You're looking at I feel like if you look at the last 30 to 40 years, that's pretty much happened.
Yeah, I mean, then you got
is Gerald Ford, he's a Republican, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what's happened. I can take it back further. Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan. Oh no, sorry. Reagan went to Bush.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden.
Although Ford doesn't really count because Ford only took the office because Nixon resigned. So it wasn't like no one elected.
Right. Well, good point. And so Lyndon B. Johnson is before Nixon and then JFK. I'm probably stating the obvious. Everyone's
start
like,
off, you know, you sort of had like Adams and you know, Jefferson, and then that flipped. Like then it was Jefferson was, you know, president. And it's like, so there's a lot of that, but I don't know.
Yeah,
clearly it's the names we know. They're at the top, you know, like of course.
Clearly. Okay. All right, everyone. Thanks for
who said that? Webby?
Getting a little.
Webby, I'm getting there. I actually have a set of presidential playing cards. I'm gonna.
Oh, nice.
I've been drilling myself one day.
Wow, that's cool. Your son can do that. I like that. I have no idea. I actually went to DC, and there was a few presidents where I was actually like, "That's a president." Give an example. Benjamin Harrison. I was sorry. Surfer me is like, what? I don't even fucking recognize that name. Like Benjamin Harrison is a president. Chester Arthur. Okay. Arthur. President. Rutherford Hayes.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the only one. Oh no. And this is gonna really make me feel bad. Because he was early on, but Millard Fillmore, I would have got that wrong.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't sound right. I got him right here. Yeah, 13th president of the United States. Whig Party.
Those are just a few where I was looking at pictures. I'm like, okay, I'm a dumb shit. If someone walked up to me on the street with a microphone, I would get those wrong. Middle school name in The Simpsons. All right, I'm outie.
All right.
See ya, everybody.
I'll play some music here.
See you next time.
Sure not.
I don't know about this wine thing.